It's very important that we are preparing for the International Labour Conference. As the African trade unions, we always take steps, we reflect, and we develop a common position. The common position becomes very important in the sense that looking in the eyes of the geopolitical situation that is happening now, it is very important that as an African stakeholders, as an African trade unions movement, we need to take stock and then we reflect as a unit on all the international issues that are taking place. And we are not starting now. It has been a practice, and we have always moved a position for us to know as a continent that always provides raw material and the continent that drives the world in terms of all the commodities that are needed for development, but we are unable to transform them into the finished product. That's why it's very important for us to take this kind of reflection and have developed a common position. And we are talking about more than 20 countries that are gathering, especially arriving from tomorrow, and then we will see how we're going to develop that position moving forward.
Okay. So the question is, what are the key goals of this year's pre-ILC Africa meeting? And how would you say this aligns with the broader labor agenda on the continent?
The key goals, number one, we are going to reflect on the countries that are implementing the international labor standards or violating international labor standards. The second one is for us to develop a common goal on how we're going to address the issues that are being tabled in the International Labour Conference this year, more especially on the issues of the platform workers, formalizations of informal sectors, and also the issues of social protection. The third one is on the issues of the common position as we are preparing for the FFD4. FFD4 stands for Finance for Development Conference number 4, which will take place in Spain, and also as we are preparing also for the World Summit for Future that is taking place later this year in Doha. So those are the main issues that we are going to reflect on and see how best we can position ourselves as a continent. For the labor movement, it's very important because we are saying that there is no any activity that will take place without labor. So workers are the cornerstone of everything, although in some instances they want to be relegated and also they want to be taken their voices. But for us, we have been saying that there is no trade without labor, no investment without labor, no any other development without labor. So for us as labor movement, we have placed and we have advocated that labor must be always at the center of any negotiations. And we have also capacitated ourselves for that call.
Okay, so looking at the International Labour Conference agenda, pretty high on that agenda is platform work as well as informality. Can you maybe just elaborate on these two issues and how they impact issues related to African workers today?
Yes, it's very important. That question is very important because that's one of the, as I indicated earlier, that we will discuss around. The platform workers are those workers who haven't seen the employer. We are talking about Yango in Namibia. We have taxi drivers that are picking up us at the various places, safely drop them home. But have they seen their employer? Who's the employer? No one knows. We have also workers that are working in call centers. Have they seen the employer? The answer is no. So what we are talking about, workers now, even the definitions of workplace is completely changing. What is the definition of workplace? We have to define that, no, if you come at your way at the employer premises, in your office, then you know that, no, this is my workplace. But now that is changing because of the technological development. So those are the platform measures we are referring to. Now, how do with whom do they negotiate their basic service conditions? So we are looking at now how do we how do we protect them? How do we look after their rights? and how do we know that they are not being exploited through the process of these globalizations and also the technological development. The formalizations we are referring to many African countries. They have close to 80 to 90% of their economy informal. But then we are talking about the issues of funding the social protections. How do we now make sure that this informal economy that is close account to 90% can be transformed for them to mean something to those workers and to the country. So, but it's not an easy task. As far as we are concerned, even Namibia, we have commissioned 3 years ago now, diagnostic report that is under the Bank of Namibia. But that report, we are still waiting for it to be produced. So it's a process for us to do. And in Namibia, we are now, the last labor force survey accounted for 63% of our workforce being in informal. And even those that are working in a formal establishment, they are also treated informal. So that tells you us that the directions we, Namibia as economy, we are moving towards those others that are accounting for 90% the informal economy. So we have to look at how do we formalize this one? How do we make sure that it reflects the four principles of decent work? And also how does the country, through revenues and other means, also benefit from this kind of economy or arrangement?
So a pretty big challenge, and we see that it might be expanding or growing, but what are the proposals in place currently as far as protecting workers involved in platform work and informal work?
Yeah, the proposal on the tables, number one, we have to ensure that the international labor standards are observed in all the arrangements. We have to ensure that the various international labor laws conform to the international labor standards, more especially the 10 fundamental ones, which talk about the freedom of association, the right to collective bargaining, the issues of prohibition of child labor, and many more. So it's very important that they also have to define, when we are talking about the informality or the platform workers, who are they and how are they to be organized. So how do we introduce them to social protection? How do we ensure their labor rights? How do we ensure that there is a security of employment? And how do they dialogue? Social dialogue is very important. So all these four fundamentals of decent work need to be observed in all these sectors that are emerging. Without those fundamental principles of decent work, then of course any kind of work that is emerging as a result of whatever economic activities will not be decent. And that's why it's very, 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 very important to us as a labor movement to ensure that we push the agenda. I'm sure that the employers, as we are discussing now, they are also focusing somewhere to push back what we are pushing forward. But of course, we have to continue, and there's been a battle for trade unions to ensure that the rights of the workers are adhered to and are protected.
All right. So, Mr. Kavihuha, just maybe as a final thought then, from your perspective, what does a successful outcome from this pre-ILC meeting look like for African unions?
What is it? Sorry?
What would you say from your perspective does a successful outcome to this pre-ILC meeting look like?
Yeah, of course, as the host, the Trade Union Congress of Namibia are looking forward for a successful conference. And as you can even hear, I have a sleepless night to ensure that these African colleagues of ours enjoy the hospitality of Namibia and also the friendliness of the Namibian people. But of course, as soon until the time that the conference starts, then my blood pressure becomes lower. For now, we are working very hard to pull all the things together, and I hope that the outcome document will be one shared with all the delegates of workers to the conference comes June. The conference will start the 2nd of June until the 14th June in Geneva. So we are looking to produce this document, and also in fact, the real work will start after the conference. After we develop a position, now each and every federations go back to home. We have to engage our employers. We have to engage our government, especially the delegates to the conference, to ensure that our positions get through when we come at the International Labour Conference. Because the ILO is based on tripartism. If one leg does not agree to a decision, that decision will not pass. So that's why you find best debaters, best lobbyists in the trade unions, because our positions are always not welcomed by employers, but we make sure that we lobby them, we convince them, and we rally them behind us for a decision to be taken, as always, at the International Labour Conference. So that's why we are saying that the real work starts after the conference, when we develop a position. Now this position must be communicated through to the other two social partners. So that is where we are standing now.
All right. Well, Mr. Kavihuha, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we wish you all success in your endeavors over the next week.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm also looking forward that at least from tomorrow evening and Wednesday morning, I can also share some contacts, so we talk to some leaders so that they can share some views with our population. Mm-hmm. So let's keep in touch, and also pass by. We have been meeting at Turengarhof, the one opposite the police station, so that we can also engage these African trade union leaders and others that will also be joining us. I think the ILO directors for Namibia and Zimbabwe will be around, and hopefully the minister also, the new minister, will be around, and then we see how best we can engage and see what can we put on the table. Thank you very much.